Kendrick Lamar deserved to win that album. She won in the wrong year, and not everybody wants to be commercially successful, but it's like, you make music, one would hope, maybe that's not the most important thing to you, but you would hope that you become successful. Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Agape, like the love. If you're new here, then hi, welcome. This is a safe space, but if you're not, thank you so much for clicking once again on one of my videos. As you can tell by the title, I'm going to be discussing and talking about the Best New Artist Grammy Award, right? And there's this thing that's called the Best New Artist curse, and it's because a lot of artists who win Best New Artist award go on to not do quite remarkable things. So we're going to be talking about the curse, discussing it, whether it's a real thing or not. So if you want to carry on watching, I think you should. But even before we get into the video, if you want to give this video a big like, and maybe tell me what you like, who your favorite Best New Artist from the recent years, or maybe from before, who one of them is. So if I was watching this video now, I'd pause and I'd write like Lipa or Alessia or whatever you want to. But yeah, let's get into the video. So guys, before we actually discuss the curse, I'm going to talk about which Best New Artists I'm going to be mentioning. So we're going to start from 2013, and if you see me looking down a little bit, it's just because I'm looking at the notes that I have from this video. That's all the notes. Anyways, so we're going to start off with 2013, right? So in 2013 we had macklemore and Ryan Lewis, and then in 2014 we had Sam Smith, then in 2015 we had Meghan Trainor, then in 2016 we had Chance the Rapper, 2017 we had Alessia, 2018 we had Dua Lipa, 2019 we had Billie Eilish, and for 2020 that is undecided. But by the time that this video comes out, it's still going to be undecided. Only artist I would say that potentially has broken the curse, right, is Dua Lipa, but I'm also going to discuss why I think that is. One could also say Billie Eilish, but again, I'm going to discuss why I think Dua Lipa is the only one who's actually solidified and like broken the so-called curse. I actually think there are a plethora of reasons as to why you could find yourself being a part of the Grammys curse group, right? There's so many different reasons, and I'm going to mention a few of them in the video. And my first point is that this cannot be the peak of your career, and for a lot of artists, them winning the Grammy, that's their peak. Like the music that they do pre-Grammy, that leads them to winning the Best New Artist Grammy, right? A lot of it is their peak. And so for example, I can name Chance the Rapper, Alessia, Meghan Trainor. One could argue Sam Smith, even though Too Good for Goodbyes, the single, did really well. And then also macklemore and Ryan Lewis, right? This was like the peak of the career, and then everything after that never quite made the same impact that it did. Never quite made the same impact that the first album or the first EP or the first debut did, right? That's one point. But my second point is the more meatier thing that I do want to focus on, right? Is usually something happens that there's either a controversy around you winning, or there's a controversy that happens after you win that makes people look at you a bit differently, right? So we're gonna start off with Alessia. I do want to preface that like Alessia is like one of my favorite artists. So I'm just looking at this from a more like critical lens. I'm obsessed with the pains of growing. Like I tweet all the time being like, when we're gonna get new music, right? Just want to preface by saying that, right? But with Alessia, when Alessia won, I think it's quite unfortunate, right? Because she won in the wrong year, and by explaining that, I'm going to say is that I think that year SZA should have won. So SZA's album Control came out, and it was a phenomenon. It's one of undisputed one of the best R&B albums that came out in the 2010s. One could say in that decade, that one of the top R&B albums. It reshaped R&B as we know it, music as we know it, right? It held so many different records, right? So Alessia was not the fan favorite or the one that people wanted to win or the one that people expected to win. And I say she shouldn't have won, right? Is because Know It All, Alessia debut album, that came out in November of 2015, right? And then Control came out in June of 2017, right? And the 2017 Grammys was in Jan or Feb of 2018. So first and foremost, Alessia wasn't a new artist. Her debut album had come out 2 years prior. So there was even a interview, I'm gonna try and insert it there, when she won the Grammy. One of the interviewers had even asked, do you think, like, would you consider yourself a new artist? And she sort of like brushed off the question. And
by the TVs.
Hi.
Wondering,
sorry.
do you feel like best new artist?
No. I don't. I honestly, I mean, I know that sounds really cliche, like I didn't expect this, but I'm such a huge fan of all the other artists that were nominated, so I would have been just as happy if they won. I mean, there are just so many people making great stuff right now, so I don't feel like the best, but and this doesn't mean I'm the best either, but it's a really crazy accomplishment either way.
I'm also interested in the new part of that as well.
Oh, new. Well, I mean, it just doesn't, none of this feels real, to be honest. Yeah, it's just, I don't even know what to say. It doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel like I'm here. I probably won't process this for another, 7 years or something. Thanks.
Hello. Hi. Juan Carlos Alessia from Mexico.
it was quite unfortunate because it led to a bit of controversy. I know that she went, they were talking about it on the Breakfast Club. Then Alessia had to release a statement. It's quite bittersweet that she had to release a statement on Instagram and delete her post of her winning. And it's weird that this cool moment that so many people, so many artists wait for, right? You wait for that moment where you're gonna have the Grammy and you're gonna hold it, but the way in which you got it, or the way in which you got it, didn't really seem fair, right? And that's quite bitter. And I think it also turned, the general public did not like Alessia because SZA didn't win, and it's quite unfair on Alessia, but that's what happened. And yeah, it's very unfortunate, and I do think that she shouldn't have gotten it that year. She should have been in the running with Chance, and maybe she would have gotten, maybe Chance would have gotten, right? But that wasn't the year that she was supposed to win, and so it does have a bit of distaste, right? Because one could argue that she became a little bit more popular and that's why they gave it to her, but then Grammy rules are a bit weird because I know Scars to You Beautiful might have taken off, and then also Stay with Z as well, so she was gaining more popularity, right? Because nobody really knew the album when it had come out. But then that's just a bit weird, I think. And then another example that I can give you guys is macklemore and Ryan Lewis, right? So when they ended up winning, they won Best New Artist, but then they also won Best Rap Album. And a lot of people thought that Kendrick Lamar deserved to win that album. They even, macklemore and Ryan Lewis even admitted it. They were Kendrick Lamar deserved to win this album, right? Because Kendrick Lamar released Good Kid, Mad City, and that changed the impact that Good Kid, Mad City had on not only rap, not only hip-hop, but just music in general. That album deserved to win. And so when Kendrick didn't win that Grammy, right, people were pissed. People were really upset. People were upset, and that's just another example of you winning the award and people know that you didn't really deserve to win. And then it sort of turns the public, there's sort of a sour energy that the public has towards you that does have an impact. I know it does. And if we give Chance an example, Chance just, I don't even want to, Chance did Chance. The third thing is that what a lot of artists do is they either take a really big break after they debut, right? They take a big break, right? But they don't do something to you can take a break after your debut, right? Because deservedly so, that's your debut, right? But you still need to sort of have a presence, right? You still need to sort of have a presence. So for example, right, Billie Eilish, one debut, amazing, that album incredible, right? But then she's doing something with Rosalia for the Euphoria soundtrack. She's doing things here and there, maybe a magazine cover here and there. So I feel once you win it, you shouldn't go totally dip out of there. I feel with Meghan Trainor, she sort of did that. Now she's trying to do more of the Voice stuff, but her albums don't hit the way that they did. So it's just the idea of don't disappear fully, because a lot of the artists don't have enough stardom. it's not like Adele or Beyonce or Bruno Mars or people who release debuts that are freaking incredible, and they can dip and then they can come back because their debut had such a significant like hold, right? But if you won but it's like I don't know, then I don't know if I'm explaining this point right, if I'm using the correct words, but I just mean to say that don't disappear. That's all I'm saying. Don't disappear completely, because I don't think a lot of artists have the ability to disappear and come back and still have an incredible impact. Like, I don't think a lot of artists have that ability. Like, I genuinely don't. My fourth point is that after you debut, right, the next project that you release after you win, this is very important, the next project that you release after you win, so it's usually your sophomore album, right, has to be incredible. And when I say incredible, I don't just mean in the lyricism, in the way that you present the album. I mean it also has to be commercially successful, but also be a really good piece of music, because some artists have the one and they don't have the other. Some artists have neither, where it's just like, that was just bad, right? So if we look at Chance the Rapper, for example, when he won it for Coloring Book, right? So he won it for the mixtape Coloring Book, but then his most anticipated like debut album, The Best Day, I think it's Best Day, right? Or Best New something, Best Day, I'm gonna insert what the album is called now because I keep forgetting, right? That album was bad. Like, it was really bad. First of all, it's a long album. Like, the thing, if you want me to have a problem, release a long album. Like, some artists, especially when some songs like some songs are fillers, like, why is your album that long in the first place? Like, I'm genuinely, and also I think I'm a little biased because I do like album reactions and lyric reviews, right? If you give me a 15, 17, 21 song album, I'm going to be upset. So first of all, Chance's album was really long. Second of all, people thought he was trying to go into the mainstreamy pop, like with Hot Shower, and like the actual like bars weren't there. And so it's very unfortunate because not only was it not really a commercially like a success, but it was also a bad album in terms of material. The collabs, some collabs were a bit too ambitious, some collabs didn't work. So that was unfortunate, right? After you win Best New Artist, you have this title on you. It's like you won Best New Artist. Grammy winning Best New Artist. Chance the Rapper releases sophomore, like debut album, I mean, sorry, this was his debut because he had mixtapes before. This was his debut and it wasn't good. The next person I can give you an example is Alessia, but this is where like my heart kind of breaks, right? Because I think The Pains of Growing was an incredible album. Like, I think it was an incredible album, but it wasn't commercially and also I also have to interrogate what I think of a commercial success to be. But I think I'm vindicated in the sense that like Scars Too Beautiful did well, and people knew that it was I think it charted on the Billboard, right? But like Alessia Cara's the second persona was a little bit quite low-key, but the second album was like, that's what I say, it was a good album. It was a great album, actually, one of my favorite albums to have come out of 2019, right? But it wasn't commercially successful. That's why I said you can't just have one, you have to have both of them, because it's your debut, and then people are going to be like, oh, they fell off, oh, they flopped. So you have to push the commercial nature of it. I don't know, I'm very conflicted, because I think the music here has to be good, but it also needs to be commercial, and that's where a lot of people it doesn't. So I don't know, I'm conflicted, because I am a fan, as I said, of Alessia Cara, but it's like that album wasn't a commercial success. Someone's gonna come up in my tweets and be like, no, it made this amount, but I don't think it was commercially successful. But then again, I also need to interrogate what my litmus test for success is. But anyway, one could argue that with Sam Smith, in the Lonely Hour was absolutely excellent, right? And then the next album was actually safe. Like the next album was quite safe, and Sam Smith said it, and they said that like for their mental health, they just went with a safe album. And I think that was like the Too Good at Goodbyes, like that was a safe album, right? That was a safe, it didn't take too many risks. It was just a safe body of work, right? And so I think that is a fair thing to say. I'm gonna try and insert the clip where like they admitted it, like they were like, yeah, this was a safe album because they just needed that security because they were going through things with their mental health, and so that I can completely understand.
I think there are times when artists, when they're not feeling themselves entirely, go into a sort of almost an autopilot state.
Oh, completely. It's safe. I felt safe. The album was safe, but I don't see, I'm not ashamed of that, because at a moment of such unsafety in my life, all I wanted to feel was safe. So that's honest to me. It's, you know, pushing myself during that second album would have been probably detrimental to my health because I wasn't in the right space.
But my thing is, if you want to go your more exploration-y route and do all of that stuff, do it in your album afterwards. Like your day, like I feel like your sophomore is just as important, if not more important. Like the sequel can either be, and a lot of people have trouble like living up to the sequel, but the sequel is incredibly important. Your sophomore album, the next album that you win afterwards, is incredibly important, and I cannot stress this enough, because I think that's the album that really determines your trajectory. If you were just like a one album wonder, like it really does determine that. And that's why I feel like some people take your time, but don't disappear completely. Like people like SZA, Control, beautiful, but she drops snippets here and there. She does maybe a collaboration here and there. Like, don't disappear. That's my thing. Oh, and to give you an example of somebody who the album was great but also commercially successful, is Dua Lipa, right? So with Future Nostalgia has 6 Grammy nominations for the 2020 Grammys, right? And so it's one of the albums where the music, yes, great, I'm getting a WhatsApp notification, the music incredible. I really love what Dua Lipa did on that album, but it was also commercially a success. I don't know, I think also, if you're somebody who's in pop, I think I also need to preface that if you're somebody that's in pop music and you make pop music, you want to be commercially successful. Like, feel like that's a thing, like that's what you want to do. If it's maybe like an indie artist, but the reason why I'm saying this is because all the Grammy best new artists that I've mentioned, a lot of them are in pop adjacent music, except for like the rappers. But you could argue that rap music has become pop, right? If I'm looking at pop in terms of just popular and not pop in terms of like the genre, right? You would want to become successful. So if you in my comments being like, not everybody wants to be commercially successful, but it's like, you make music, one would hope, maybe that's not the most important thing to you, but you would hope that you become successful, right? Isn't that why we do things? Yes, we love it, but also that we can be recognized for it and that it can be received well. To prove to you guys how Dua Lipa broke this curse, all the points that I mentioned, I'm gonna name them again, right? But then I'm gonna compare them, and I'm gonna compare them to Dua Lipa to show you guys that she was able to break the curse, right? So the first point I mentioned was it not being the peak of your career, right? New Rules was an incredible moment, right? And I think that's one of the reasons why she won Best New Artist. That song was everywhere. That album was everywhere, right? She won that. Oh, I'm getting notifications, guys. People are bothering me. Putting on silent. She won that, right? New Rules, right? Don't pick up the phone. Right, that was her first debut, right? But then she released Don't Start Now, and she released Levitating, and she was everywhere, right? And Don't Start Now sort of reignited that fire that people had for her New Rules, right? And then the second point about there being a controversy surrounding you winning, there wasn't really one. There wasn't really like an uproar. She has fans. People were like, yes, she deserved it. and so there wasn't really like backlash around her winning. There might have been like some people that wanted other artists to win. I know Chloe and Halle were also nominated that year, so some people wanted Chloe and Halle to win, but like Dua Lipa was able to break into the mainstream better than Chloe and Halle, and so they were just, Dua Lipa's just more mainstream than them, right? She was able to go off into like the pop realm, so it made sense that she was gonna get it. So there wasn't really a backlash around her winning, right? So that was my second point, right? Then again, she gets that. Number 3, doing things on the side. She had so many different features and different side projects. When I just show you guys, if this is the thing, if I show you, if it says see discography, right? Oh my gosh, random ass remixes. This is like, okay, wait, so this was the cover of like her debut, right? This is 2016, 2017. This is still in 2017. This is okay, then she released her second album, right? So we have a break in between, but like she's still bumping out music, she's still doing features, she's still making like a presence for herself. Again, she's going on her Instagram, she's building a how do I say, like even between your 2 albums you're getting more fans, right? She's getting herself involved in fashion and really experimenting with that, so she isn't completely out of like, she isn't sleeping, she's still busy doing stuff right before her second album comes out, right? And then number 4, the next project you win has to be incredible, and she did that. Like, she genuinely did that, and now she's nominated not even for she's nominated for like album of the year, guys. So Dua Lipa is like one of the only examples that I can say that on all the 4 different points that I mentioned, she's been able to succeed, and that's why she's the only artist, in my opinion, since 2013 that's really been able to break the curse. Like, she did that, right? One could argue that Billie Eilish did that as well. However, Billie hasn't released her sophomore album, and so once Billie releases her sophomore album and we see what happens with that one, then I'll be like, okay, Billie too. So it just depends on how your second album goes, because I can't really think, you can't say that they broke the curse unless their second album comes out to prove like the last 2 points, if that makes sense. But I have faith in Billie. I'm pretty sure she will. She stays being one of the most listened to artists in the world, like dead ass. So yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching my video. I like doing these music analogies and stuff like that. It's super interesting to me. It's super interesting to notice trends, to notice why some artists do better than others, and then also to just enjoy music. I enjoy listening to music in all different forms and just looking at like the fans and how they react to the music. I just like music. And yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, please don't forget to give it a like. Maybe comment down one of the points. Maybe you disagree. Maybe you think that commercial success doesn't really matter. Maybe you think that I'm being a little bit too harsh on certain artists. Please let me know. I would love to just engage with you. And so yeah, guys, I will see you guys next time. Bye bye.